Good morning. Greetings and salutations, friends. Welcome back to my channel. So later on this weekend, I am going to be going to a charity golf scramble with my boyfriend Riley and his best friend. The two of them have been planning this for quite a while, and somehow they were able to rope me into their golfing shenanigans. Now, the two of them, like I said, have been planning this for quite a while, and they have planned all of this down to matching outfits. The two of them are planning on sporting matching neon yellow golf shorts along with bright red peacock shirts. I don't know why. Don't ask. I don't have a reference photo. I am sorry. Now, as part of me joining their posse as my boyfriend's caddy, more like a glorified golf cart driver, they really wanted me to match their duo, just inverted, so red skirt and yellow top, and I ended up ordering an outfit to wear to the event. It was $50 and everything that I got was just really poor quality. I did not feel good wearing it, and I didn't feel like I had spent a good amount of money, and so that brings us to this week's project. Before we get into it, no, this is not the big project that I talked about in last week's video. That will be next week. Like I said last time, this project is kind of just engulfed my house, and I am unfortunately still engulfed in it. I have one more week before the event that I'm going to this actually arrives, so I am procrastinating to the last second on editing this video, but I promise it will be here next week. So for this week, I'm going to be making a dress to wear to this charity scramble event. The dress is going to be made out of this bed sheet that I actually got a set of 2 of. I believe that it is a full, but I really couldn't tell you. None of that stuff is really separated well. I actually think that this is a fabric that Riley picked out for us the last time that we went on kind of a Goodwill date. But again, couldn't really tell you. It was hiding in my fabric stash. I thought it would be perfect to go along with their absolutely ridiculous theme, so we went with it. Plus it was, free because it was in my fabric stash, so I don't have to think about paying for it right now. The other part of this that we had to figure out is what kind of a pattern I was going to use, because I am not very accustomed to what is golf proper, formal athletic, because I do know that there is way more of a expected dress code when it comes to going to a golf course versus going to like a basketball game. So after scrolling through Pinterest for a while, I came across this pattern, which is from Mood. So I want to give a big thank you, Mood.
Thank you, Mood.
For providing the pattern for this project. So I want to give a thank you, Mood, to the designers and writers of this particular pattern. However, you will probably hear me complain or be kerflummoxed by the design and or instructions or lack thereof from this pattern, because there are just things that were lacking or just made no sense. But with that, we're gonna jump into the actual process of making this. So for this video, I did just film. I just filmed through the last 2 days to make this dress, and I will be narrating from the comfort of my own room today to walk you guys through the process of how I made everything. So starting off, obviously, I cut out the pattern, and before I actually got to cutting out the pattern, we got to my first moment of confusion, which was the sizing on this thing. Now, as you may know, Mood is very size inclusive, with their patterns ranging from a 00 to a 32. This pattern was weird because it wasn't all the individual listed sizes 0, 0, 2, 4, and continuing up, but they were clumped together, so 0 and 2, 4 and 6, 8 and 10, which I get for some things like tights or things that are more stretchies where it can be a small, medium, medium, large, large, extra large kind of a thing. If you wanted to clump sizes together, I'm more in the 6 to 8 range with non-stretch fabric, and with a stretchy fabric, I'm probably more on the side of a 6 to 4. With this outfit and this pattern, I was gonna be a size 12. Now, my measurements didn't change, but the way that the pattern expressed its sizing just felt really weird and off. Like, I felt something inside, like something felt wrong having to cut this out in a size 12. I get that it's just a number. Again, my measurements didn't change, but there was definitely something off-putting about having to cut this out in a size 12. With all of that said, and with expectations appropriately set if you do want to make this pattern as well, I cut out the pattern and then I placed it all on the fabric, which miraculously fit on what I assume is a twin size sheet. I can't believe all of this fit on one sheet. Now, I tried to film cutting out the fabric rather cinematically. I don't know if it came across that way, but here's a montage of me cutting out my fabric.
We hope you enjoyed this brief construction montage.
Before moving on to actually sewing everything together, I wanted to look up how to sew together buttonholes because I have never made buttonholes before, and they've just rather perplexed me. It seemed like something I would have to do by hand, which I was not interested in doing at all, nor would I have the time to do it. So if I needed to cut corners or change the way that the dress was put together so I could put in a zipper, I wanted to figure all of that out before I actually started sewing the dress. That led to one of the most incredible discoveries I think in my life. I'm pretty sure that I've said this in other videos, but I proactively avoid doing things that have buttons on them, and I was even trying to figure out how to make this dress not have buttons on it, and I just caved, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna figure out how to do buttonholes. Oh my gosh, I have learned things I never thought existed. This is my very old, very loved grandma's sewing machine. This is my only relationship with it is if it's like this, it goes forward. If you go like this, the stitch goes backwards. I didn't know that this moved. I didn't know that that's what gauged your stitch length. I've just been stitching on Giant my whole life. Here's the other thing. I thought that this was stylistic. After watching a tutorial of another lady using her Bernina to make a buttonhole, I realized this is a buttonhole. That's what this whole thing is for, is to make a buttonhole. Life has been changed. So many doors are opening up for me. I will do nothing but make buttonholes. After my mind was melded back together from my world getting rocked of not knowing how to make buttons, I decided that this dress desperately needed some pockets, which is another thing that I've never done before. But I figured, how hard could it possibly be? After cutting out the pockets, I just followed the instructions on how to sew together the top. Okay, final check-in for the night, because this is not hurting my brain anymore, and so before I have any more big brain moments, I'm going to stop. So the instructions for this particular pattern are not very clear, and so it definitely does take this from being more of a intermediate to a master's level kind of sew, which is nice, but it also means lots of big brain moments, and big brain moments at after dinner hours means Carolyn does not function. I could not for the life of me figure out how to attach the interfacing attached collar to the actual fabric. So like me explaining it to you guys, I feel like it's like, oh yeah, duh, why wouldn't it be that way? But for me, it's just like, this made no sense. But you take the right side of the shirt and the right side of the collar and put them together, but put the collar on the outside. So that way, when it flips in along this seam, the whole thing flips in and it flips out and it looks all nice. So there's my final big brain moment for the day. I will see you guys tomorrow. This is the start of day 2, where I decided that I wanted to make new sleeves. I followed this pattern that I found on Google for how to take a standard sleeve pattern and turn it into a puff sleeve pattern. Because after making my Noel dress a couple months ago, I never want to make a dress with any other kind of sleeves. To my third brain cramp of this project, which was attaching the pockets to the skirt. I did not know that there was an easier way to attach pockets than the way that I thought you would do it. I just figured that the way that I was doing it was probably not the right way, and it turns out I was right. I was doing it incorrectly. So I am going to take apart my pockets, which I have sewn together, and I'm going to follow her tutorial, which will be linked below, because she does such a simple and straightforward way of explaining it. I can't believe that I tried to do this the way that I wanted to do it, as opposed to just looking it up the first time, because it's so much easier to do it her way, as opposed to sewing the pockets to the individual pieces of fabric and then sewing the whole thing together, you know, lazy man style, like the way that I sewed on the sleeves to this outfit. Okay, skirt and pockets are done. The whole thing has been pinned together. So now we have to do the side seams, belt, and sleeves. We're gonna start with the sleeves. Now for the instructions, they say to sew up the side seams, attach the skirt together, and then sew on the sleeves. I am lazy and I'm doing different sleeves, and so since I apparently skipped that step last night while working on the bodice, I am going to sew on the shoulder part of the sleeve first, and then sew the bottom part all the way down the under part of the arm down the side seam. Because then you just get it all done in one stint and you don't have to sew anything in a circle, which is always great. It was at this point of the day that I had to leave for work, and so I just decided to take the whole project with me. I'm a receptionist. It's a real boring job. They let me work on my projects in peace, just as long as I'm finishing all of my paperwork. No one really cares. So I got to sew on buttons at my desk. I had a very official measuring instrument for measuring out these buttons because the pattern does not tell you where to sew on the buttons. Hi, I did the buttons and I turned the belt inside out, so I have to iron this, which unironed totally looks like a scarf that we all wanted to wear like in 2003. Like especially with the graphic tee, all I need is like, hang on, okay. Nobody can tell me that the graphic tee with the vest and the scarf is not like Jonas Brothers on the red carpet circa 2010. Nobody can convince me otherwise. This is so Jonas Brothers on the red carpet in 2010. Anyway, this will be the belt. It'll go around, tie in the front in a cute little bow. So that's what that's there for. The other thing that I did while I was at work is I hand sewed on all of the buttons. The pattern does not tell you where the buttons go. I got to this pattern and it was just like, here's the general space of like where you should fold in the extra fabric to have the structure for the buttonholes and buttons. It did not actually tell you where to put them. Like, and the only thing that the instructions say is sew on the buttons and you're done. Okay, I feel like this is gonna be like found footage or something like that. It is 11:30 at night. I have finished the dress and I am not a big fan of the way this final result turned out. I just feel like I kind of look like really old and not in the kind of, you know, cute modern vintage way that I usually do. So my plan is now to get rid of the collar entirely and turn it into a V-neck. The rest of it is great. I absolutely love the rest of it, but the collar is just taking it to Oldsville and not in a cute way. So tomorrow there will be no collar. Good night. I'd say, all in all, that went pretty well. I am so glad I got rid of, sorry, I like just washed my hair. I got it cut yesterday and the lady said that the way that she cut it would get rid of this little flippy-do in the back. And I'm like, oh, do not challenge the flippy-do. She will always come back. I shaved my head a couple years ago and there was still a little flippy-do. Like the cowlick will come back no matter how hard you try. This was fun. I'm so happy with the way that everything turned out. Really glad that I got rid of the collar. That was just, it made it way too matronly in my opinion. I mean, it's already got pretty solid grandma vibes between the glass buttons and the bedsheet fabric, not to mention the puff sleeves. So everything kind of playing off of each other, I was like, okay, how can we make this more kid-like in a sense, more like how can you make it younger? And I think that getting rid of the collar was a good move. All in all, I don't really have any complaints about it. I think I will be adding a ruffle to literally everything that I own. It was so easy to do. I think after I learned how to gather fabric, it was only a matter of time until I started to do ruffles, and now that I've done it, I want it on literally everything. For those of you that remember my mushroom video from about a month ago, and I added that lace trim, the ruffle was free. The lace trim is like $12. As long as you got extra fabric, I'm gonna add a ruffle. The only thing that I would note is that I think I did the buttonholes just a smidge too small, because when I tried to put the buttons in, I had to end up opening them up and then cutting through that top seam that like keeps the whole thing together, and those have been unfurling over the course of the day. So, you know, kind of like all my projects, not really machine friendly, but you know, if you only wear it for maybe like an hour or so and you've got like some deodorant spray, you're good. There you go. If you like this video and you feel like sticking around, feel free to click that subscribe button. I post every Sunday, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!